Good morning, everybody. We are now live with Mondays Live at 11. This is a digital accelerant sponsored event where we bring on one of our digital card owners each week to share some of the knowledge that they have, and this is just kind of a sample of what you get as a card owner because we do this all the time among each other, among ourselves. And today's guest is Cheryl Mucha, and
Hi,
she is
Dave.
CFO Your Way, and you can text profit to 321-421-5213 to get her card. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you so much for having me, Gabe. I'm really excited about what's to come.
Well, yeah, it's fun. These things are fun, and one thing I will say is, we've known each other not very very well, but we've known each other for over a year now.
Yeah, it's probably
Two,
closer to 2 years
yeah, 2 years.
when pandemic started.
Is it 2 years that the pandemic
Yeah,
started? Oh man. Wow, that's something. And I've always felt that you've been one of our more well, you've always been highly respected in my eyes. Let's just put it
thank
that
you.
way.
I
And
appreciate that.
I don't say that to everybody because it's not true. But most 99% of my clients, I do love them, and then there's the 1% that I could do without. But
Nice to be on the love list, right?
right, right, absolutely. So Cheryl Mucha is the founder and CEO of CFO Your Way. CFO Your Way serves as an experienced fractional or outsourced chief financial officer for growing businesses and specializes in business strategy, systems implementation, and internal controls. So, we're going to talk about a lot of different things, networking, LinkedIn, and podcasting and stuff. But what got you into this business that you're in now?
So I've worked my entire career pretty much with or in family-owned businesses as the controller, CFO, etc. And got to the point where I saw such a need in the business community for support and help with their financial accounting. So I said, why am I doing this just for one business owner when I can do it for many all at the same time? So that was
Hmm.
really what provoked me to start CFO Your Way. And we've been in business 10 years and I have helped lots and lots of smaller family owned businesses get their financial accounting house in order.
Oh, very good. And what were you doing before that?
So I started my career at a CPA firm. I am a CPA. So
Okay.
I did 6 tax seasons and in that time frame got married and we were starting my husband is also CPA. So we were
Okay.
working the grueling
Right.
hours
Right.
together. And we got to the point where we wanted to start a family. And I said, we cannot both be doing this
Right.
and raise a family. So he's still there. He's still at the same firm 33 years later. And I moved on to work for small businesses.
Oh, very good. So you pretty much call your own shots and call your own hours and
Yep.
all that other stuff. So that's it's lovely how that works as being an entrepreneur. So and you do have a podcast, and it's called Pathways
Pathways
to
to
Pop. Go ahead. Hmm.
profitability. Yeah,
Hmm.
pathways to profitability. It's personal tales of business success. So we talk with entrepreneurs and just talk about their journey. Like you just asked me, what was the thing that pushed me to start my own business? We talk
Hmm.
about, what happened before the business that made them ready to start their own business. And it's so interesting. It's, a lot of the people I know for a long time that are guests on the podcast, and things come out in the podcast that I didn't know about these
Hmm.
individuals.
Right.
And every story is so personal and so unique, and it's just fascinating where the conversation leads us.
It's true. It's as a matter of fact, Lorraine, right? Lorraine is
Yes.
another one of our clients, and she is energy to 21,000. She's very proud of the fact that she's 80 years old, and and she does look great for that. It's because of
Mhm.
what the business that she's in. But I found out when I interviewed her that she's a Harley rider. And I would not have guessed that. She and her husband started on like the smaller bikes, and they kept graduating to bigger ones, and then finally got on Harley. So I think that's just kind of a cool thing.
Yeah,
Anyway, so the yeah, and talking about podcasting, I've noticed like for example, I do a little plug for Digital Accelerant, throwing that in a little bit. We do customized digital business cards for companies, right? And one of what is becoming more and more noticeable to me is that podcasters really like what we do. And as a matter of fact, I've got a client who said he's going to be on he's met me on Friday, and he said, "Well, I've got this podcast that I'm going to be on." Apparently, the guy has 33,000 listeners or whatever. He
oh
says,
wow,
I'm going to ask him to move it to a week so I can get my card before the podcast, so I can capture all those leads, and which is great idea. So that kind
brilliant,
of
yes,
made me want to search LinkedIn and connect with more podcasters, and I just found so many people that are doing
right,
it, and it's not, I don't think it's even slowing down. We
no,
both know Rena, who's podcast easy to the 321 number, and that's what she does. She helps people create them and get them distributed, and she produces them, and things of that nature. And her business is really thriving right now too. So um yeah, it's really interesting how that goes. So my question is, I guess this is kind of a form of a podcast in and of itself.
absolutely.
And I do this for different reasons. I'm doing this more to provide value to the digital card owners. Like, the only
Mhm.
people I interview are digital card owners. And so and so that's why I'm doing it. So I'm not necessarily looking to build an empire, the podcast empire that some people do. Um, but with so many people doing it, how have you found, how have you found in getting guests, or in trying to compete? Do you know how many listeners do you have? I mean, how does all that work out?
So my guests are obviously all business owners, all entrepreneurs that are in my circle, whether they're referral partners, whether they're clients, whether they're past clients, potential clients.
Mhm.
Um, so it depends on the interview and the promotion. So we do a lot of promotion ourselves, but it
Mhm.
also depends on the guests promoting it as well.
Right,
So
right,
some episodes have wide reach and
right,
some don't have much at all because I can only reach my network.
right. Mhm.
So we rely on the guest to promote and anyone that's been a guest on the podcast to promote it.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's significant views. We don't do live, we pre-record.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I find it's getting out there and it's building it too. So we've been doing it it's probably just about a year and it gets more and more audience as you go down and go through time.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So if somebody's just starting out in podcasting, um, I guess the idea, and the other part is finding people with influence
Right.
to, that to interview, and I guess they're like probably high in demand or whatever. Does anybody ask to for you to pay them? Has that ever happened to you? No, I mean,
No,
because you're not talking to those types of people
yeah,
probably.
no, and I do it just as a give back.
Right.
So my guests are more than willing to participate
Mhm.
because they get something out of it as
Right,
well. Like
right, right.
like you said, you send the recording, you have access to the recording. I do the same thing, so they can
Mhm.
use it as a marketing piece. They
Right.
can use it as a, a piece to promote themselves and their business. So that's
Mhm.
that's why I do it,
Right.
and it's fun. I enjoy doing it.
Mhm. Yeah, it is fun because you get to spend some quality time with a person, and there's no it's there's no guards are usually
Right,
up, and we're just talking about stuff and life and
right,
business and things that we like to talk about anyway, right? So,
And there's always something to learn, no matter what you're
mhm,
talking about. There's
right.
always something to learn about each other, really.
Mhm. Right, and yeah, and that's what I've tried to gear these towards is have them be like have a reason for people to want to listen to them. So like
Right,
giving away information that people would want to hear, and I would think that if you're starting out with podcasting, you could even reach out to Cheryl to to if you have any questions or on that and just I mean, just how to I guess how to book them and what how
right.
to it's really not that hard. Like I use this platform as StreamYard. I don't know what you use, but
Yeah, that's what we use as well, but I have someone produce them for me because they're
mhm,
pre-recorded, and
right.
then he adds an intro and outro,
Okay.
and, we do, snackable snippets from it to promote it and whatnot,
Right.
so he does all
Right.
that production part of
All
it
right.
for me.
So you're a couple of levels above me. Because
But this is great. I mean, the live being in front of a live audience
right.
is great too.
Well, the thing that I did, I mean, I can do all that stuff with video, and I've done it before. And when decided to do this, I mean, I used to have a referral network before. This is way before the pandemic. It was all virtual, and I recorded it. So I recorded
Mhm,
everybody did their 60 seconds, and I recorded it, and then I put it out there. And then when people would see it, when they would come up for their 67s, I'd have a lower third come up across that I
right,
did, and for their name and their business and all that. So I had to do that for all the 10 or 15 people that were on there. Plus, we had an intro and an outro, but it took me forever to edit that thing.
yeah,
And so and when I did this, I said, I don't want I mean, because what I do is I'll want to get involved, I'll want to put all that fancy stuff in there. I just sticking an intro and outro on is one thing, but doing what you're doing is, like, grabbing the snippets and
right,
promoting it. That's hard stuff. That's a lot takes a lot of work. And when I found StreamYard, they said, "Well, you when it's done, you get the video."
right,
And you send it out. You download it and send it out. That's what I
right,
do.
done,
And
right?
and yeah, exactly. And so I can live without the production because I'm not really again, I'm not trying to create that big produced content that's
Right,
supposed to compete with all those people. This again, this is just I hope that this catches on just for the fact that we interview real people and they share real ideas
right.
that people can benefit from. That's kind of what we're doing here.
Yeah, and as you have that library, people will browse.
Mhm. True.
And so they'll see the list of all the episodes and who it is or what their business is, and something will pique their interest to cause them
Mhm.
to click on that video, and even if they fast forward through part of it, they're getting something from it, and
Right,
it'll
right,
provoke them to look at another episode.
right, right. Yeah, it's funny when you never know who is listening because you don't get a ton of comments right during the event itself.
Right.
But I remember I went to a this was a few weeks ago. I went to a local restaurant just stopping to get something carry out,
Mhm.
and I saw one of my clients who I hadn't seen in over since before the pandemic.
Right.
So I go over and hug her and all that, and we're talking, and she said, "Yeah, I was watching your podcast the other day with Craig on it, with talking about Google My Business and all that other
Mhm.
stuff." And it was just funny because that's I mean, we had not communicated in well over a year.
Right.
Yeah, you just never know.
Right.
So yeah, I think obviously podcasts are here to stay. Um, there are so I would just say for people that and this has become more and more prevalent. We used to have to tell people to do this, to be authentic and all
Right.
that, but now I think everybody just knows that. I mean, it just seems like if you're there's no selling in podcasting,
Right.
there's none of that. It's just all being authentic, and if you're willing to share information that you know willingly without asking for anything in return, then I think people have, better success at it.
Right. And when you're being authentic like that, no pre-written script, just
Right.
just very conversational. There's more depth to it, and something always comes out
Mhm.
in that conversation that you
Right.
wouldn't expect.
Mhm. Very good. Mhm. Okay, so So did you answer what was the reason behind starting it? Did you answer that, or I'm not sure?
Yeah, it just to give
Okay.
back to people in my network, whether it's referral partners, clients, just to be able to allow them to tell their story, and
Right.
then to have some content to use for their website, for in their
Right.
marketing and
Right.
whatnot. It just to really get their story out there, because the audience draws from that.
Right.
And especially we talk about entrepreneurship, and,
Mhm.
some people are like, "Oh, I could never do that. I can't start my own business." And just hearing others' journeys, and, some are hard journeys, some are easier journeys, but just to know that if you have that passion
Right.
and you step out of your comfort zone, the sky's the limit.
Right. And that reminds me of a story of when I was in my early 20s, and, for some reason, I got the bug to go skydiving, and I'd never done it before, and so we went up to Woodbine, Maryland. It was like a farm country, whatever, and, we were we were there all day training, right? You just do you're training, but while you're training, other people are going up and they're coming down, they're going up, they're
Right,
coming down, and they're just walking around like normal people, and it made it normal. It
right,
really like, it wasn't it wasn't, really like, people weren't scared to death going
right.
up there because most of them had been doing it a long time, but this is yeah, this is what we do. This is a very normal thing, and it's the
And you
same thing
saw
with
them all
entrepreneurs.
returning too, so that gave you
Right,
some
exactly.
comfort too, right?
Yeah, that was a good, yeah, that was a good sign that they were coming back down. So, anyway, so but and that's the same with entrepreneurship. It's, if you visit our digital card owners, obviously most of them, if not all of them, are entrepreneurs,
Right,
and we all have our stories, and we all do it, and we all exchange ideas and how we can help each other, and when I compare that to what I used to have in corporate, totally different experience,
right.
obviously, but it makes it like right now, I couldn't imagine going and, "Can I apply for this job, and can
Yeah.
you hire me?" And can you imagine that? I mean, it's just really wouldn't work out, so
It's funny because when I started CFO Your Way, I was like, "I'm never gonna have to go on a job interview again," right?
right,
And
mhm,
what's each potential client? It's a job
exactly,
interview.
yeah, mhm. It is, but it's different. I mean,
It is different,
it's
yeah,
different because, in the end, you have control about what
right,
happens with that client. I've had a c j and I said in the beginning, there's just a couple of people, that I've had difficulty with, let's put it
right,
that way, and, one was fairly recent, and, I think the person ended up apologizing to me because they told me that they were abused as a kid, and I mean, it got that to that level, it was that
right,
bad. So this person was screaming at me, in a Zoom thing, and I just said, "Okay, that's it. Time out. Nope, nope. Bye. Here's your money back, whatever." And
right.
and, so you don't have when you're in a job, you can't really do that
Right.
because
We
you lose
we
your
can't fire
livelihood.
our clients when someone else is paying us, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, anyway, so that's the part that I like is and the other part of it is that you're not stuck to one boss. I've had a series of bosses, and I haven't had very good luck. I've had one boss for a very short period of time who probably said the most inspirational thing I've ever heard a sales leader say, and that
Mhm.
was, "How can I help you improve your sales?"
Right,
And to that effort, and she was and instead of browbeating me, she wanted to help me to become, because that's what a leader's supposed to do.
right,
You empower your people to become successful, right?
right,
Not
right,
you browbeat them. Or I had one guy, one boss who he threw a book at one of his employees. He's I mean, stuff like that. And
right,
then I had other people who couldn't sell, a space heater to an Eskimo. It just it was just horrible, horrible sale. And I would see these things that they were doing, and I said, "You're kidding, right?
right.
You did that?" And "Oh, don't worry," and, and then they go out of business, and
Right,
but having this, and now we are if something happens, hey, it's on us. We can't
right,
blame anybody,
right,
right? If we don't do it with and so that's the part I really, really like that part of it is that, and things happen to us that really aren't even our fault, but, learning to pivot around that is
right.
what's really key.
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
and pivot, I mean, COVID pivot has become a very, very prevalent word, but yeah, even before pre-COVID, you have to adjust to the marketplace. You have to adjust to your clients' needs. You have to, there's so much pivoting going on.
Right,
And you have to. And we have the
right,
ability to, I guess is the point to drive home as an
right.
entrepreneur.
I think that's the thing that what I learned is, and this is what I teach my daughter, um you can say, "Oh, woe is me. Why is this happening to me?" And I guess I give up because there's people are against me and it's not never going to
Right.
work. You can do that, or you can say, "Hey, guess what? Not only is it happening to you now, but it's probably going to happen to you again in the future. So
Yep.
your best bet is to figure out a way how to get around this. If you get skilled at knowing that, at understanding that, and being able to do it, then you'll be successful, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's what I've learned myself because we've had, several, things hit us. COVID was one of them,
Hmm.
and so I just learned, I said, "Okay, well, guess what? I thought COVID was a business killer, and I got around it, and I thrived because we network nationally, right?
Right.
So if I can get around that, I can get around anything, so, yeah.
Right. And the digital business card and well, and the networking virtually.
Right.
From my perspective, I was able to share my business card with anyone and I was able to meet anyone. All
Mhm.
I've met people all over the world during
Yep.
this time and they were able to see my business card and have all my contact information and be able to reach out to me in the way that worked for them.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it's been really fun, working with this and working with everybody. So what type of guest do you look to have on your podcast?
It's entrepreneurs, 100% entrepreneurs, whether they're new to being an entrepreneur or have run their own company for a long term. It could be second, third generation in a family-owned business, but it's the business owner,
Mhm.
and how they got there, and trials, tribulations, how they manage work-life balance is always a big topic that comes up because as an entrepreneur you make your
Mhm.
own hours, but sometimes you get sucked into those hours too. So, the importance of work-life balance is a good topic to talk about.
Mhm. Have you, have you talked to Chris Michelle at all about having him
Yes,
on? Okay,
yes,
because he just wrote his book, and I think that would be he's a really good guy. I think he would be a good person to have on. But there's
yes,
so many
absolutely.
from our group. You could go weeks and weeks and weeks from
Right,
just picking people from our group, 'cause there's so many strong people. Um,
absolutely.
so let me ask you about your use of LinkedIn. Um, and I see that you use it. How
Yes.
much time do you spend on it? What kind of things have you found effective?
So we have a marketing calendar, and I have an assistant that makes the posts for me
Okay.
and manages
Mhm.
that calendar. And for me, it's all about consistency. So,
Mhm.
so being present, putting content out there on a consistent basis, and it's not all, shoved down your throat, sell, sell,
Right.
sell. I
Right.
very infrequently even sell. It's all about what's going on, latest news, or something you need to know about in the accounting world. Um, but most of it is just interaction, like get to know me, let's have a little back and forth on LinkedIn. It's just having that human to human connection.
Mhm. Right. Have you used Sales Navigator?
No, I have not.
Okay. So, That's one thing that I've used it before, and my history with LinkedIn is has been, I think that, of course, I mean, digital cards, there's probably and it's just such a bank of people who are there are many entrepreneurs on there. I think it would be perfect for me to get good at LinkedIn.
Mhm.
So I've
Right.
tried and I've tried and failed many many different times on how I approached it. So one thing I discovered was using LinkedIn Sales Navigator to create a search, because you can
Mhm.
search not only their how long you can search where they're geographically, you can search their business type, and you can even limit it to people who are active on LinkedIn, which is a big one
Oh,
because
wow.
there's a lot of people who you can't do that. Um, and so I use another program that would send bot messages out to all these people, and that's what a lot of people were doing, and I think are still doing. Not I would think not as much anymore, because I found it kind of obnoxious because I would recognize a bot when it came on
Right.
and I would just ignore it.
Mhm.
And I don't know why I think people wouldn't recognize mine. They said no, but anyway, so I didn't get very much from that at all. So I stopped doing that, and then but recently, and I also found and LinkedIn's always changing things. They're now from what I understand, it's 100 people that you can invite in like a week. It used to be 100 people a
Oh,
day.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
so
a
it's
big
now it's
difference.
100 people a week, and so with the sales with that at least with having a bot doing the invites made sense, because if you could do 100 people a day, then you just set it at 60, 75, whatever per day and have it run. But
Right.
now it doesn't. I did get Sales Navigator again because again looking for podcast people. That's the only way I was able to search for them, but in regular LinkedIn you run out of searches.
Right.
So I'm just looking at people to connect to, and so I got it again, and it cost me $100, and you really can't do anything. I mean, there's not. I mean, I don't want to bring in a second program to start spamming those
Right.
folks because that was ineffective. And there's really not. You can message people individually,
Right.
if I want to do that, which is not really what I want to do. Maybe that. I mean, because I guess that's kind of what I was doing. I mean, you can connect with them. So I'm not really sure what the value is of what's going on. Is you got a
My
fire in your
my
house?
alarms just put the code in twice, honey, with on off. Again. Sorry.
That's okay. That was exciting. See what you get. See what you get. I hope. Yeah,
There
exactly.
you go.
Yeah, I hope we don't see you've got like a fake smoke machine that just starts blowing smoke in the background.
Go
So
speak again, please.
so yeah, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Sales Navigator anymore, but but what
I
I have been doing is I've been taking a totally different approach. I've been finding people that I want to connect with and just say, look, I'm taking a different approach here. I have a
Mhm.
networking group that I can share. I'm interested in other networking groups that if you have them to share, basically.
Right.
That's the basic message. And I've gotten results from that. So and hopefully, as a matter of fact, I've got in a couple of weeks I'm going to be trying a new networking platform that where they're and the guy was nice enough to say, hey, he's got digital business cards that might be great for our group. And so I think I'm starting to learn how to finally take advantage of LinkedIn.
Yeah, I never tried Navigator, but we do targeted searches. Like there's so many filters within LinkedIn that you
Right.
can use. So we do, industry searches, using the parameters and it's very time consuming because you have to
Right.
message each person
Yeah.
individually. But the other thing I do too is if um especially with the podcast, if the podcast is posted and someone likes it or comments on it, that's not a first connection,
Right.
to reach out to that person with a personal message. Again, it's
Right.
time consuming. I call it running down the rabbit hole. You get like,
Mhm.
so focused and tunnel vision and hours pass you by and you don't even realize it. But there's there's ways to connect with people more personally in LinkedIn as well, and not have to do you know, a message to,
Right.
using a
Right.
bot.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of that, but that specifically, but I have been again. If I think the networking, because most of the people, or a lot of people on LinkedIn are just like us, they're networkers, right?
Right.
They get out because that's an effective way to get stuff out there. So anyway, yeah, that's something that I've been working on. So I think I might drop but that's the one thing, you say you do the industry searches, but eventually, if you do it a lot, you'll run out
Right.
during the
Exactly.
course of
You
a
get the
month.
same
Yeah,
results. Right.
yeah, and then yeah. So anyway, um,
But I find too on LinkedIn, because we've been doing it for so long and posting consistently, the
right.
more personal stuff that you post,
Mm-hmm.
the more engagement you get. Like, I'll do a video, just a personal video about my garden or
Right.
something that's happening in my life, because it gives the people that see it insight into who I really am,
Right.
and it gets greater engagement than saying, "Oh, did you know the latest about the PPP loan
Right.
and what the new
Yeah.
rules
Yeah.
are?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think, even though it's a business platform, I
Right.
think, people want to engage in a different way and don't want content or information shoved down their throat all the time,
Right.
or
Right.
sales, like push your business, sales, sales,
Right.
sales all the time. Those
Right.
kinds of posts get very little interaction. So it always fascinates me with looking at the analytics behind each post, or the engagement with each post, what people want to see, what
Mm-hmm.
interests people.
Yeah, it's funny because you get the LinkedIn people that say, "Oh, that's not appropriate for LinkedIn. You shouldn't be posting that." You get the LinkedIn police, or the
Right.
self-appointed LinkedIn police. I know on Facebook, if I I can't help myself, I'll throw in a meme for my digital cards up there.
Mhm.
Zero, big zero every time I do it.
Right.
But if I picture my dog or my daughter, I get everything.
Right.
So I haven't tried that on LinkedIn. Because again, it's I'm just so conditioned to know that most people, as I said, the LinkedIn police have said, no,
Right.
you shouldn't be doing that. But that might be, I might throw a couple out there, see what happens.
Yeah, but
Um,
Gabe, it's not even about your daughter or your dog. It's about Gabe.
mhm,
Do a short video, a 30-second video about you,
mhm.
what I did over the weekend, what I'm thinking about. Try it. You'll see how much engagement you get.
All right. Well,
You'll
we'll
probably
see.
be very surprised.
We'll see. That's something that doesn't rub well with my personality. I mean, honestly, because when I see other people doing that, I'm kind of go, okay, well, I skip through it. And maybe I don't know. Maybe it's um, yeah. Maybe I think about business too much. Maybe I need to relax a little bit or something. I
But
don't
it's
know.
about building trust. People need to know you to
Right.
trust you. So
No,
if
I
you
get
give them a
that.
little tidbit about who you really are,
Right. Mm-hmm.
that you're human and you have, other things going on in your life other than business,
Mm-hmm.
it opens that door. And it
Yeah.
opens the door for conversation also.
Right. And that's why oftentimes I've used my dogs in either just my marketing or just period, because I have I mean, I'm no different than anybody else, but I think my love of animals is not as strong as my wife's,
Mhm.
but is pretty up there. And I could talk about dogs all day. I remember there's a networking event, it was in a breakout room, and then one guy, we broke out in the beginning, and then they had another meeting, and they broke out back at the end. And this guy comes back at the second one. And he said, "Gabe, are you still talking about your dogs?" It was different people because they were talking about theirs, so yeah. So I do have other interests, but anyway. So let's get to some of your business questions before we wrap up here. Um, so okay, so how do you work with your clients, and Why would they work with you versus hiring somebody internally?
So we work with our clients it's very personal, very customized. So we
Mm-hmm.
meet the client where they are. So a client might engage us initially for bookkeeping because they don't have systems in place. They're not getting financial statements. They're, the typical, or when you hear tax preparers say, my clients bring me the box of
The
receipts.
shoebox, right?
Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
shoebox, right. So we can go in and get them organized, get them set up on accounting software, and be able to allow them to have accounting information, financial information up to date. What good is
Mm-hmm.
it in April reporting on last year? You have no idea where you stand or what you made or what you lost or where your
Right.
expenses were. Um, and once we have that in place and we have some history and some consistency in the financial reporting, then we can work with the business owner on the strategy, talk about their hopes, dreams, wishes for 3, 5, 10 years out, and put together a plan to help them get there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's cash flow, whether it's a budget, whether it's a 5-year financial plan, so that we can start benchmarking and reporting and talking about how do we get there.
Mm-hmm. Plus, I think it's important to know that if you ever plan on selling your business, they're not going to want to have a shoebox. The
Exactly.
shoebox is not going to work. So,
Yeah, it's funny because I've even had potential clients come to me and say, I want to sell in 2 years. What do I need to do?
right.
Well, you need to invest some money into getting records in order, start now to get that financial data in place so that you have something to give a potential buyer. A
Exactly.
potential buyer is not going to just go based off of your word.
That's right.
They wanna see the documentation
Yep.
behind it
Mm-hmm.
and be able to dig into the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always say, the numbers tell the story of your
Right.
business,
Absolutely.
and you
Mm-hmm.
need that story, not only
Uh,
to operate currently and make decisions going forward, but, what's your ultimate goal and how do we get there?
mm-hmm. What are some of the triggers that bring clients to you?
So there's lots of triggers. Unfortunately, some of it is fraud. So they may have had someone internally full time that they've been working with and they discover fraud.
Oh, wow.
Um, Sometimes it's, I had a CFO, he got sick or she quit on a whim and we need someone to fill that seat while we search for someone else full time. Um, and then sometimes it's just the business owner is wearing all the hats. Like people go into business to sell their widget, right?
Right.
And they don't realize they have to market. They have to
Mm-hmm.
worry about IT. They have to worry about their financial records. And they finally realize the light bulb goes on that says, I can't grow my business and reach, my hopes and dreams while I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing all this stuff that I don't know how to do. I don't understand, and I'm wasting my time. So they
Absolutely.
bring us in to take that part of it off their to-do list.
Let me do you have a story, a client story that where you like a success story that comes into mind?
Absolutely. So, this goes back a couple of years actually. A not-for-profit
Mhm.
had fraud internally to the tune of several $1,000,000.
Wow.
They filed for bankruptcy, and the court appointed an attorney trustee to either reorganized or just to close shop
Right.
down. And this is an attorney that I knew many, many years back from my small business employee days. He called me in knowing what we do. And the day he was appointed, the CFO quit. So he reached out to me and said, look, Cheryl, I don't know what kind of shape the accounting records are in, but we need to get ready for an audit within the next 3 months, and we
Wow.
need systems in place. We went in there were no financial records for 15 months.
Wow.
We brought in close to 20,000 bank transactions into QuickBooks Online and got their financial records up to date and audit ready within like 8 weeks.
Wow. And so how does that work if there's fraud involved? I mean, it's something that didn't affect what you guys were working on, or?
So our goal was to just identify it, get books and records in place, and get through the audit.
Mhm.
And then there was a whole fraud investigation.
Wow, interesting.
But
Very good.
again, you need the records in order to do the
Yeah, oh,
investigation.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
So, yeah, it was, that's the kind of stuff I love to do, like figure it all out. And when you have a financial statement at the end of the day, and
Mhm.
it all makes sense and tells a story.
Right.
Um, yeah, everyone, it was great. And they reorganized, they came out of bankruptcy, and they're successful and thriving today. They
Good for
After
them.
we were done, they hired a CFO, they hired an
Mhm.
accounting team,
Mhm. Well,
and they're
good. Good for
successful.
them and good for you. So, and also before we close out, I think we're going a little bit over time, but, um, we have our collaboration forum tomorrow at on April 19th at 1 p.m. And Cheryl, you'll be speaking. Do you remember what
Yes.
your topic is for that?
We're talking about I don't remember.
Okay. Stay tuned.
One day at a time, Gabe.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I didn't hit you with that question before, so I did go out on a limb, but
Oh,
but
we're
anyway,
talking
so
about, gross profit versus net profit.
okay. So that anyway, so yeah, anyway, come there just to share. We have 10 people that'll be
Mhm.
speaking at that event. And Cheryl's one of them, and the other 9 people are just wonderful card owners that have their own expertise. And yeah, there's 2 speakers per room. There's 5 rooms, half an hour per roughly. And so you can just go from room to room and listen to whichever topic you want to listen to. Come meet Cheryl, come meet me. I'll be there. And text the word forum to 21,000 to get the event card and register. So that's something that you can do.
Yeah, that's
But
it's
anyway,
gonna
thank
be a
you so
great
much for
event.
being on. Thank you so much for being on our Mondays live at 11, Cheryl.
Thank you
We
for
appreciate
having
it.
me, Gabe. This was great.
Yeah, it was fun. So, and we'll get to share this around, and I'm glad your house didn't burn down while during the whole thing.
Or no one held me at gunpoint, right?
Right, exactly. All right, so we'll see everybody next week. Um, I think I'm done with all my announcements, and we'll just go ahead and